Bloodhound Q50, a Chicago drill rapper, has survived gunfire.
You got shot. Did you think like, yo, like I might die right now?
That ain't really going through my head. I had cousins that got killed to this, but yeah.
However, nothing prepared viewers for the unsettling hospital footage that surfaced soon after his most recent assault. The rapper is obviously not going to get out of this one easily. I have the complete breakdown. Let's begin. The mayhem. The internet was ablaze on August 17th. That weekend, it was impossible to browse Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, or any rap site for more than a few seconds without seeing Q50's name prominently displayed. The headlines were crazy. The Bloodhound Q50 was ambushed in St. Louis. Rapper from Chicago. 60 shots were fired into the truck, seriously injuring the driver. Obituaries even began to circulate. On August 17, 2025, unconfirmed reports surfaced claiming that Q50 had been set up with a phony event in St. Louis and was ambushed as soon as he pulled up there. Raindrops Media One made one of the earliest widely shared statements, claiming that his truck had been blasted with automatic weapons, critically injuring him and multiple other people. The narrative became much more bizarre when Lashy Bills joined in. More than 60 shots are said to have been fired at Q50's black pickup. After posting his position on Instagram, the rapper was attacked and tires exploded. Let's end it there. Consider how crazy that is. 60 rounds? It's not a hit. It's a full-fledged conflict zone. But given the way these rumors circulated, nobody even stopped to inquire about the location of the supporting documentation. They noticed a dark truck and a few flashing lights, leaving the rest to their imagination. The rumor gained momentum when a video circulated on Instagram stories. Q50 was not shown in the clip. No one was seen being wheeled into an emergency room. All that was visible was a large police presence outside what appeared to be a hospital, with lights flashing and ambulances parked. "Please check on Bloodhound Q50," the caption said. That was sufficient. Reality in drill culture is perception. When fans saw those lights, they thought the worst. They recalled the shooting he had done. They believed they were witnessing his final moments in real time as they recalled the gunshots still embedded in his leg. Blogs devoured it. Hindustan Times, Hyperfresh, and Mechanical published stories on the alleged ambush, citing those widely shared posts. There was no real confirmation for any of them. However, in the era of social media, hits are more important than facts. This is where the trouble began. In St. Louis, rival rappers began to take credit. Rapper CTS Lou Wick, from St. Louis, quickly went live and made fun of the circumstances.
Back in, you know, like shit sweet again. If they come, I bet them trucks be bulletproof. You know? You come back, I bet them trucks be bulletproof. I bet you move way smarter this time. You hear me? I bet you move way smarter next time, gang. You can't come to the Lou bouncing that game on everything and not come to the Lou bouncing ass.
That's good code, which basically means you should make better decisions if you return to St. Louis. This is something we actually do. Another alleged shooter claimed on Instagram Live that Q50 was the most famous person they had ever shot, while other sources reported that Real Houdini also claimed to be involved.
I don't think he gonna make it, but we gonna see. I ain't never popped nobody that famous before. It's my first time. This talking about I work with the feds. What the fuck?
Then the money beef rumors surfaced. According to some blogs, Q50 had crossed the wrong person in the wrong city, and the shooting was connected to a purported $6,000 theft from a local St. Louis artist. Was there evidence of the theft now? Indeed, there was more to it than rumors and conjecture. However, in the neighborhood, that's frequently all it takes for a rumor to seem real. At this point, the situation deteriorated significantly. While some media outlets claimed Q50's death, others promoted the idea of his serious injuries. In fact, Rollout Metro News published an article confirming his death. They shot Q50 to death. YouTube channels, such as In the Trap TV, simultaneously uploaded videos purporting to be official confirmations of the incident. Numerous people were hospitalized after bullets smashed into a Q50's truck. Here's the catch, though. There was no police report, no St. Louis Police Department statement, and neither his label nor his management provided any confirmation. There was absolutely no confirmation. Furthermore, when prominent publications like Metrical and Crispin G investigated, They found no solid proof and labeled the entire situation as a likely fraud driven by internet turmoil and clout chasers. What was actually happening then? Q50 leaned into the rumors rather than avoiding them. Hours after the commotion, Q50 took to Instagram and shared a series of pictures of himself relaxing in a car, appearing to be in wonderful health. A mysterious bar in the caption, "I won't be as famous as Chris Wallace, but I will be as famous as Big Papa." It was no accident that Biggie's murder was mentioned. "You guys want me to go out like Biggie, but no, I'm still here," he was essentially saying. By publishing an Instagram story from 079 Squeeze that said, "Switchy is watching all the fake news," laughing, he doubled down. He then went live on Instagram, which was the moment that silenced many skeptics.
I know for a fact y'all was hoping that shit true, because I done y'all up so many times. St. Louis watching that, you know what I'm saying? Still ain't made that 60 back. That's f***ed up. A lot of people have you right, you know that. Hey, DMG, I seen that little too. I ain't gonna say the other name because he a civilian, but we gonna f you up too. I seen all that though. I'm gonna see a lot of y'all like this. Like how a lot of seen me. Like how a lot of you homies, I was the last face a lot of you homies seen. I gotta let my wounds heal.
He was grinning. He was speaking in a slick and untrustworthy manner. No hospital bed, and no visible bullet wounds. A few admirers felt relieved. Others expressed skepticism, suggesting that he might be concealing injuries. However, the main idea was evident. By moving and cloning the reports, it was confirmed that Q50 was alive. And why they believed it is still a mystery. So how could a rumor that had no official confirmation, no police record, and no hard proof spread throughout the internet? Easy. It was weighted first by his past. Q50 had survived one actual shooting before. When fans learned that he had been hit again, it seemed credible because they were aware of the bullet lingering in his leg. Secondly, the video appeared authentic. The flashing lights in the hospital video enhanced the narrative, despite the fact that he was not visible in it. Third, it was driven by rival rappers. The distinction between trolling and reality became hazy when people like CTS Lou Wick went live making fun of the incident. Fourth, clicks were required for blogs. Websites such as Hype Fresh published the article without doing any due diligence because speed is frequently more important than accuracy in rap media. Finally, drama is what fans crave. Spectators are the lifeblood of drill culture. A rumor of a shooting is more than just news. It's content. See, when you cut off the background noise, this eerie hospital video speaks more about the environment surrounding drill than it does about Q50. People in the suburbs assume catastrophe when they see police lights flashing. When it is seen in the neighborhood, people think, another day, another body, another op pack. This event was both a boon and a bane for Q50. The curse. Fake obituaries were being used to degrade his name. The blessing. His influence soared. The internet believed that Q50 was dead, so even rappers who had never heard of him before now knew his name. Furthermore, perception is crucial in this game, let's face it. As absurd as it may seem, there are instances where surviving a fake rumor helps your career nearly as much as surviving the actual one. What additional information is available about Bloodhound Q50? Let's investigate. The streets that produced Q50 saw blood loss.
Yeah, man, tell that check on Q50, man. They done parked this down there. The Lou is not sweet, gang. Black truck on flat.
There are likely several things that spring to mind when you hear the moniker Bloodhound Q50. Some see him as just another Chicago-based young rapper attempting to make a name for himself off of his street cred. Others view him as an example of drill culture, where music, death, and life are inextricably linked. One thing, however, becomes clear if you take the time to read his account. Rapping about the trenches isn't all that Q50 is. He experienced it firsthand. The eerie Final Hospital film, associated with his name, makes it even more difficult to ignore that fact. Let's rewind the timeline. Q50, whose real name is Cooper, grew up in the center of Chicago. For years, that has served as a battlefield. At the young age of 20, he had already witnessed more suffering than most men who are twice his age. He began rapping informally in 2023, but it wasn't until he released Splash Brothers in 2024, just 1 month after the murder of Bloodhound Lil Jeff, his close buddy and collaborator, that the game took note. The timing was not coincidental. It was excruciating. Grief became bars, and in drill, anguish is frequently the birthplace of stars. By 2024, Q50 was signed to Signal Records, a Columbia Records-affiliated company. Additionally, in April, his debut album, Long Live My Brother, tells it all. It was published in 2025. Your Bruto was most likely slain by him. That title isn't a clean label-mandated one. Right there in text, that is unadulterated street thinking. Let's be honest, though, Q50 wasn't first attracted to rap. He said in interviews that at first, he wasn't really all that interested in the music. His Bloodhound gang, Lil Jeff and Real Vert, were the ones that encouraged him to take rap seriously. He claimed that in an attempt to push Q50 into the spotlight before he was ready, Jeff would actually bring their tracks to label meetings. It wasn't only rhymes and drill. It was a matter of survival. Jeff realized that he could potentially avoid the streets if he managed to get Q50 into the booth. Unfortunately, Jeff was not saved. Bloodhound Lil Jeff was shot 19 times in June 2024 in a vicious murder that even his parents acknowledged was caused by the life he was leading. Nothing had a greater impact on Q50 than that loss. Indeed, he stated bluntly that it was the first true tragedy of his life when he sat down for an interview to discuss the murder of his cousin Zoni, another family member.
I had cousins that got killed to this, but yeah, like a person that was my everyday, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that was the first heartbreak. Hell yeah, I can say that.
There are likely several things that spring to mind when you hear the moniker Bloodhound Q50. Some see him as just another Chicago-based young rapper attempting to make a name for himself off of his street cred. Others perceive him as a prime example of drill culture, where the connection between music, death, and life is unbreakable. One thing, however, becomes clear if you take the time to read his account. Rapping about the trenches isn't all that Q50 is. He experienced it firsthand. The eerie Final Hospital film, associated with his name, makes it even more difficult to ignore that fact. Let's rewind the timeline. Q50, whose real name is Cooper, grew up in the center of Chicago. For years, that has served as a battlefield. At the young age of 20, he had already witnessed more suffering than most men who are twice his age. He began rapping informally in 2023, but it wasn't until he released Splash Brothers in 2024, just 1 month after the murder of Bloodhound Lil Jeff, his close buddy and collaborator, that the game took note. The timing was not coincidental. It was excruciating. Grief became bars, and in drill, anguish is frequently the birthplace of stars. By 2024, Q50 was signed to Signal Records, a Columbia Records-affiliated company. Additionally, in April, his debut album, Long Live My Brother, is a testament to his story. It was published in 2025. Your Bruto was most likely slain by him. That title isn't a clean label-mandated one. Right there in text, that is unadulterated street thinking. Let's be honest, though, Q50 wasn't first attracted to rap. He said in interviews that at first, he wasn't really all that interested in the music. His Bloodhound gang, Lil Jeff and Real Vert, were the ones that encouraged him to take rap seriously. He claimed that in an attempt to push Q50 into the spotlight before he was ready, Jeff would actually bring their tracks to label meetings. It wasn't only rhymes and drill. It was a matter of survival. Jeff realized that he could potentially avoid the streets if he managed to get Q50 into the booth. Unfortunately, Jeff was not saved. Bloodhound Lil in June 2024, Jeff suffered 19 gunshots in a vicious murder, which even his parents acknowledged was a result of his lifestyle. Nothing had a greater impact on Q50 than that loss. Indeed, he stated bluntly that it was the first true tragedy of his life when he sat down for an interview to discuss the murder of his cousin Zoni, another family member.
I ain't gonna lie, from that day, I kind of like blacked out, but kind of found out I think that was like mistaken identity. Like I don't think I was the intended target.
One of the most horrifying aspects of living on the streets is the constant threat of violence. To catch a stray, you don't even need to be involved in the conflict. He stated unequivocally that he had done nothing to merit the shooting. However, bullets are indifferent to intentions. He never panicked, which is the most unsettling aspect of his narrative.
You got shot. Did you think like, yo, like I might die right now?
That ain't really going through my head. My number one, like what I know, number one rule in life I stand on is don't panic. You know what I'm saying? So I know like when you panicking.
Consider that. At the time, she was 17 or 18 years old and bleeding from a gunshot wound. And instead of screaming or folding, his natural reaction is to press against his own leg and wait for assistance. Due to its depiction of Q50's dualism, that clip gained notoriety online. Although still a child, he is already a hardened product of his surroundings. Even worse, the physicians were unable to extract the bullet. It remains stuck in his leg to this day. The metal in his body serves as a constant reminder of how near he was. Until death, fans were duped by the St. Louis myth for precisely that reason. It's easy to believe that this child could be lying in a hospital bed once more after learning that he has already been hit and survived. The past cast a long shadow. What is the relationship between music and street life? In drill culture, it is important to understand that every bullet, every disc, and every beef contributes to the overall narrative. Because he survived that initial shooting, the Q50 had a special aura. Scars are equal to stripes in the hood. Even though he played it down, claiming he didn't want the police involved or charges to be brought against him, the fact that he survived simply enhanced his reputation. However, there are two sides to this story. His credibility rose in tandem with the threat. If you're trying to make your career rap, operations don't care. They see you as a target anyway. The blogs devour it as well. There will be headlines about the Q50 falling. One day, a mixtape was released, and the following day, claims emerged that he had been shot with 60 rounds in a different city. The cycle of rap popularity, street rumors, and a return to music ensnares many drill rappers. Furthermore, Q50 said that at first, he wasn't all that interested in rap. Lil Jeff was pressuring him, performing their tunes for record labels, and pleading with him to maintain consistency. That alone demonstrates that he was in the most perilous situation, midway in, halfway out. Consider it. You move appropriately if you're completely on the streets. You have handlers, structure, and security if you're totally involved with the industry. However, if you find yourself caught between the studio and the trap, the setup unfolds. At that point, you are found wanting. Additionally, it was evident from Q50's voice how much his family had lost in the interim when he informed Vlad about the murder of his cousin Z Money.
Just like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's how it really is, like, damn. What to, like, how to react, like, I don't know what to do.
It's more than simply rap lyrics. That's raw pain. This is the point at which the eerie imagery becomes relevant. Followers instantly connected the unconfirmed hospital footage, which had the caption, "Check on Bloodhound Q50, to this instance in his history. They recalled the leg shot. The bullet he still carries was recalled. And then, seeing flashing lights and police outside a hospital, it all felt too authentic. This is how hip-hop rumors proliferate so quickly. Q50 wasn't even visible in the video. It was only a building, an ambulance, and conjecture. However, the claim gained credibility because of his past hospitalizations, which followers were aware of. On Twitter, you had folks saying that his black truck was blasted with 60 bullets, and that he was tricked into going to a phony performance in St. Louis. According to others, competing rappers boasted on Instagram that they had taken him out. The video became the so-called proof, and the story wrote itself. However, as we will see later in this movie, reality was far less straightforward. Let's take a moment to consider why this story is important before we close up this section. Bloodhound Q50 is not just another rapper who has been the subject of unfounded rumors. The fact that his name is associated with an eerie hospital video speaks to something considerably more profound. The endless cycle of social media, drill culture, and street trauma feeding off one another. He lived through an actual shooting. He lost genuine family. He has entered hospitals without knowing if he will leave. Therefore, people don't dispute videos that show him clinging to life. They agree to it. This is how pain and credibility are used as weapons in the digital era. Without a doubt, Q50 is aware of this. He therefore turned to cryptic remarks and Instagram lives following the St. Louis allegations. He knows his survival story keeps people watching and keeps his name humming, even when the truth is skewed. However, that reality is elusive. For sometimes the eerie video is authentic, and other times it's only hearsay. But when it comes to Q50's operations and beef, Nothing could be further from the truth. Let's talk about them. The collapse. Something bizarre occurred when the smoke from the St. Louis rumors cleared. The internet became divided. Fans on one side posted, "Damn, that's tragic. I'm hoping they succeed." The hospital was purchased by these individuals. Their favorite was persuaded by the narrative of the footage. The rapper was struggling to stay alive. Conversely, ardent supporters burst into Instagram comments shouting, "He's not y'all. He's still alive." They cited his smooth Biggie reference, his emojis of laughter, and his Instagram live. Then there were the people who wanted to see him fail, the trolls. A simple mix-up contributed to some of the mayhem. Another young Chicago rapper, Q50, or Little 50, whose real name was Anthony, was actually assassinated around October 2024 in an ambush on the South Side. He was just 15 years old. Many fans therefore confused the two when websites began spreading rumors that Q50 had been shot. They were unaware that Cooper, the bloodhound Q50 mule, was someone quite different. Additionally, the misunderstanding caused by the stage name's resemblance fueled the flames. It serves as a sobering reminder of drill culture's prevalence of violence. You have more than one. The shooting of a rapper named Q50 is making news. You have several. This cycle has grown so commonplace. Let's hold it at a buck now. Not all fans were responsible for the viral success of this hospital video. Because operations used it as ammunition, it gained popularity. Chucky Wackham has recently been one of the most well-known names associated with Q50. They have complex beef. Part street, part internet, part music. Chucky even released a diss track at one time after hanging out with O-Block affiliates and making subtle jabs at Baby Chief Do It and Q50. But it wasn't simply lyrical beef. It spilled into online gaming of all places, with Q50 pulling up on Chucky and others during an NBA 2K25 play in anti-up mode. A moment captured by TikTok. That sounds silly to the suburbs. Disputes over PlayStation, yet in the neighborhood, each. Minor counts. Music, social media, and even 2K lobbies turn into battlefields. The worst part is still to come. Even an unpublished SoundCloud song featuring Chucky and Q50 was making the rounds. That suggests at some point they might have been cool, or at least neutral. Friendships quickly turned into feuds and drill, particularly when clout and opposing teams became involved. Thus, you can wager that when the St. Louis rumor began, fans connected it to the situation surrounding Chucky. Despite the lack of proof connecting him to the ambush, the story follows its own logic. Ops got him. Then there's the Black billionaire scenario. Black was far blunter than Chucky, who used subtle jabs. Q50 dismissed it in a Vlad TV interview, saying bluntly,
What's the story with you and Billionaire Black?
Ain't really no story. I don't really know his honestly.
Okay. But wasn't there some sort of friction between y'all?
Hell no. I never, still to this day, hell no. I never knew his never even felt like I was in tour with him, you know what I'm saying? That ain't somebody I wake up and think about. That ain't somebody I go to sleep thinking.
He did it to minimize the drama and make things lighthearted. Black, however, was not letting it go. He made fun of Q50 in interviews and hinted at songs that were directed at Q50 and even his late cousin Lil Jeff. He said on TikTok that Q50 was slang flexing about having 8 hats, bodies of legitimacy. It also became more musically intense. Black clapped back with Indiana PT1 and Q50 and Screw released Make Me Mad PD1 as a CD. Their animosity became a true staple in the drill world as a result of the back and forth. Thus, once more, fans immediately assumed that the hospital footage was related to these beefs when it appeared. Whether or not there is evidence, every shooting rumor in drill is pegged on an opportunity. Why would competitors support a rumor that wasn't even verified, you ask? Easy, since perception is more important than reality. It makes you appear weak in the hood if others think you were hit. Your operations have scored. Therefore, that tale already caused harm, even if you later appear alive and well. CTS Lou Wick was chatting hot online for that reason. Because the internet is the new battlefield, and once your picture is linked to a hospital bed, it's difficult to shake. Tales about a $160,000 theft or a St. Louis setup continued to circulate. The way Q50 handled it was the most bizarre aspect. The majority of rappers would have gone, either ghosted or sent out a genuine press release. However, Q50 went into full troll mode. He included references to Biggie. He spat out emojis of laughter. He actually went live and informed everyone.
I know for a fact, y'all was hoping that shit true, because I done y'all up so many times. St. Louis watching that, you know what I'm saying? Still ain't made that 60 back. That's up. A lot of people have you, right? You know that.
That is an informal way of expressing, you cannot tarnish my reputation, regardless of the number of rumors you circulate. And, to be honest, it worked. Instead of appearing as a victim, he transformed the narrative into a source of clout. The more people doubted, the more his streams went up. Even outlets like All Hip Hop reported on his trolling, mentioning how he was even seen snorting an unknown substance on live while laughing off the shooting claims. When you zoom out, the haunting final hospital footage of Q50 tells a bigger story about rap today. Footage of Q50 tells a bigger story about rap today. 1. Drill rappers are leading dual lives. They're artists and street figures caught in a world where bullets and beats blur together. 2. Rumors spread faster than facts. Police confirmation doesn't pose a problem. A blurry hospital video is enough to trend. 3. Cattle fuel the cycle. Every rival will claim credit whether or not they had anything to do with it. 4. Survival is currency. For Q50, surviving both a real shooting and a fake one boosted his legend. But here's the chilling part. Occasionally, the rumors come true. Drill is full of rappers who went live to deny being shot only to get hit days later. Fans know that, and it's what makes this story so haunting. The footage might have been fake this time, but next time, who knows? Bloodhound Q50 walks around with a bullet still inside his leg. He's buried friends and family. He's watched his name trend worldwide because people thought he was dead. That's not just music. That's trauma turned into content. The haunting last hospital footage of Q50 might not have shown him bleeding out in St. Louis, but it demonstrated something even scarier. How quick the world is to believe a young black rapper is destined for death. And as long as drill culture, social media, and beefs keep colliding, those flashing lights outside a hospital will always feel like they're just one rumor away from becoming reality. If you enjoyed watching this video, check out our other awesome videos on the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.